yours.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Hi, everybody. My name is Nancy. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And this is an honor and an opportunity to share. My sobriety date is June 28th, 1976. So I'm 47 years sober in AA and a few months. Well, I may be farther from my last drink than some of you, but we're just as close to the next one. So I have to do these simple things that we all do, that we learn as part of our lifestyle in order to stay sober. So that's what I do. And that's why when Glenn called me, I had to say yes. How nice to be wanted somewhere. People never used to want me to come around at the end of my drinking. The only reason and the main reason I quit drinking is it stopped working. I stopped having fun. And when you can't have fun anymore and you admit that, and I admitted it, I wasn't having any fun and I was scared. I was scared of alcohol. And that drove me into AA. Now, I had a funny memory come back to me a little while ago. I was a tyke, and it must have been the early 50s. I was really a baby, a really young toddler. But my dad had died, and we had moved, and but a couple came to our house, and they were from Canada, and it was very hush-hush then. But he didn't drink. He went to this new thing called AA. And I remember even as a little kid looking sideways and slide-eye at him, like, what's wrong with that guy? He doesn't drink. What's he going to do? Is he going to foam at the mouth? What's he going to do? And I used to, even as a little kid, that was my first exposure to AA. My whole family is Irish, drunks, and drinking was a main thing that we did. My mom was an overeater, and my whole family, my sisters and myself, but even mostly my sisters, drank, and my uncles drank. Everyone who came over drank. I mean, we always drank. Drinking was such a part of everything that I looked at this man from Canada and I thought, he's a weird guy. He doesn't drink at all. What's he going to do? And it was early AA, and I remember that that was all I knew about AA. From then on, I didn't hear about AA ever. I just went through my, the thing that saved me, that was so important to me, was always music. From the very first, I thought music will solve everything. Music will cure everything, especially performing music. The first time I performed music, I was about 5, and I was walking along the beach with my mom and an aunt, and they were busy talking over my head, and I burst into song. Now, God gave me a great voice even as a little kid. I had a commanding way about me, and I commanded their attention. They stopped talking to each other and listened to me. And I remember this song. It was Pat Boone's hit, Love Letters in the Sand, and I was singing it with all my heart. Oh! And they stopped talking, and they listened to me. Now, that was the moment. Lack of power is our dilemma, the big book says. And Bill was so right, because that was a moment of power for me. For me, I had the power to stop them talking and make them listen to me. I had that power, and I never forgot that. I still remember that very, very well. I remember the moment, because even though my story and all of our stories have different details, I was in show business for many years and all this stuff, the feelings are the same. And one of the best things that I ever heard as a newcomer was to listen to the feelings. Don't listen to the differences. Listen to the similarities, and the feelings will come along. And eventually, I heard my story in AA, but at first I just heard pieces of it because I was identifying with the feelings. So The feelings matter more than the details. And that's what I listened to, was the feelings that people were expressing from the podiums or from the chairs or from wherever they were. I listened to them. So I remember my oldest sister, who had a lot of problems. My dad died when I was a toddler, and I was raised by women. I was raised by my two older sisters and my mom. And my dad had died. And even as a baby, you know what my oldest resentment is? I'll tell you what it is. I never thought I'd tell anybody, but here I am telling you. My oldest resentment is that we didn't have a man in the family. And I remember as a kid knowing that was a problem. For us, we didn't have a man. I wanted to hear a man in the house. I wanted to smell a man in the house. I wanted a man laughing in the house. I wanted that so badly as a kid. And it was something that I brought into AA, and I brought to every bottle. I brought all of my stuff to every bottle I've ever approached. And I'm saying bottle, not drink. Because when I think through a drink, I have to think through the bottle. I have to think through that thick green glass on the bottom and see on the other side of it. On the other side of that thick green glass, there's trouble. There's policemen. There's little kids lying in the street because I just mowed them down with my car, which I love to drink and drive. So that's another story. But I'm jumping around a little bit. Anyway, when I was a kid, we moved from a high-end life. My dad was a famous writer in the LA Times. He had a byline, and the house was filled with, famous people and, musicians, and everyone stood around the piano and sang. But when my dad died, that all changed. We moved to the lowlands. Do you know what I mean by lowlands? I mean the poorer end of town. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so my mom lost everything. This was in the early 50s, and there was no support for single moms. And my mom lost everything. But what she did was she went to work in real estate. So I grew up in a house full of real estate. And this was before cell phones. So we had a phone attached to the wall. And don't get on the phone because someone else is going to call or whatever. And so we lived like that. But anyway, I wanted to tell you this rest of my story. I better switch to this. Let's see. I started drinking in Catholic school, and I drank in Catholic school because I was unhappy. And I was unhappy because I'm an alcoholic who's the center of the universe. The self-centeredness is the root of our troubles. And I was like that. As a kid, I was like that. I'm what they call a born alcoholic. Because I came into this world with many, many of the traits of alcoholism. And we are meeting today because of alcoholism. If not drinking was easy, we'd all just put the plug in the jug and that'd be it. We'd go off to work and we'd be fine. We'd raise our families. But alcoholism is so much more than not drinking. Not drinking is just the top layer. Underneath is why I keep coming to meetings. I'm 47 years sober. Why would I keep coming to meetings if there wasn't something for me? Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is I have more learning to do, more uncovering, discovering, and discarding to do. It is never over. Uncover, discover, discard. It is never over. And not drinking is only the first layer. There's so much more. So anyway, I started drinking because I was lonely. I was self-centered. Loneliness, it turns out, is a state of mind. You know, I've been lonely at my own party. I've been lonely when I'm married. I've been lonely when I'm alone. I've been lonely, lonely, lonely. That is a state of mind. It is an attitude. It is, and the main problem, our book says the main problem of the Alcoholic Center is in the mind. It is not in the drinking. It is in the mind. It is the thoughts I have before. Now, before I go back to drinking, I'm either going to say, what's the use? Or I'll show you. Two states of mind that I get into before I go back to drinking. What's the use? And I'll show you. And so it goes. Anyway, I quit drinking when I was 26. I'm 47 years sober. I'm 74 years old. 47, 74. You can trip on those digits if you want. But anyway, I did a little bit. Thank you. I did a little bit, but that's, neither here nor there. But I came to the program when I was 26, and I was done drinking. The reason I know I was done was the things that I knew about alcoholism. I knew about my drinking. That's all I knew. That's all I know today is about my drinking, really. I can tell you how I grew up, and I can change my mind tomorrow. But the one thing it doesn't change is that sobriety date, because that really matters to me. June 28th, 1976. That was when I stopped. And it's all God. It's all God who did that. I didn't do that. June 27th, I was drinking. June 28th, I was not drinking. What is that but a higher power? It wasn't me. So anyway, I started drinking when I was 13 because I was miserable. I was self-centered and I was miserable, and I had no friends, and I wanted to run around with all the gangsters in Catholic school. So we started drinking together. We stole some vodka from my best friend's wife. Now, both my best friend and her mom have been through AA, but they didn't stay. And the reason I know that is because the brother of my best friend did stay for a while. And I was talking once before COVID and the lockdown. I was talking once at a meeting, and he came up to me and he said, "You're going to want to make amends to me when you hear who I am." What a pickup line, right? So I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And so it turns out he was the brother of my best friend. And what I used to do with him was tickle him until he peed, he said. And I had to make amends for that when we were kids. I tickled him until he peed. And I used to pin his ears back with Scotch tape. So I thought, well, maybe I should give him some Scotch tape. I don't know. How do you make amends for that? And anyway, I understand that was the load that he carried all his life. That meant a lot to that guy. And so I honor that. I respected him for that. I respected him for telling me that, but I still don't think I really owed him an amends. But well, anyway, but my best friend and her mom, I don't know what happened to them now. But anyway, we stole some vodka from her, and we took it into the bathroom at Catholic school at 10:15 recess, and the miracle happened for me. All of a sudden, I came together. When I had a little bit of vodka in me, I came together. When I had vodka in me, it didn't matter what you thought. When I had a little vodka in me, I was different. I was fine. Thank you very much. I'm just fine. Vodka did for me what music did for me, and better. And so I really liked it. I really liked it. And the bell rang. We went back to religion class, and I turned my will and my life over to the care of alcohol as I'd experienced it. And the next year I was in public school. Then I was in public school. And that was the year that Kennedy was shot. And a lot happened that year. It was the 60s. And then I went to high school. And in my last year of high school, I met a band, a crazy band. There were 26 of them, and they were called Jaywalker and the Pedestrians. Now every town has a Jaywalker and the Pedestrians band, it turns out. But anyway, there were 26 of them, and they were started by a guy named Bob Barboza. Bob Barboza is the first one who had this vision of world music, and now it's common. It's a category in music stores. Well, music stores are gone now. Anyway, if you Google world music, they'll give you a bunch of artists. Anyway, this guy was the first one who thought of that. And 8 of us broke away from him and got serious about rock and roll. We decided we really wanted to do this thing. And we didn't even have one guitar player. We had an electric piano, a flute, a cello, a violin, bongos, congas, and that was it. And a bass and keyboards. If I said it. Anyway, and me. I was the female lead singer. Now, I am the only living female from Woodstock, 1969. Just so a little bragging in here, but that's it for me. I'm the only living female. The other two, Joan Baez and Grace Slick, both retired. Joan Baez, yeah, thank you. Joan Baez retired about 3 years ago. Grace Slick retired decades ago. Janice is dead. Melanie is dead. And then the other girls, there were 10 of us, females. The other girls were background singers for Sly and the Family Stone and someone else. But here I am. I'm the only one. And for a while, I started doing a one-woman show, which I did for a while. But then I stopped. And I haven't done it. But I could still do it if I had to. Sweetwater, as it is, there's only 3 of us alive. Me and the bass player and the keyboard player. And we're the founding members. We actually went to New York last year, for the 50th. This will be the 55th anniversary. We don't think anybody's doing anything, but we went for the 50th. We went back east, and we played at a little beach festival there to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. They canceled all the big shows, and now they can't even do it again. You can't do that again. It was a different time. But I'm not saying that it was a better time. I'm just saying it was a different time. Music is fine. Music is still good. I remember as a kid watching my troubled older sister play music. And I was watching her from across the room. And when she sang, her whole body changed. Her shoulders went down. And her voice got strong. And I saw this music transform her. And that was the first thing that went into my head. Music transforms miserable people. Music does that, but booze does too. And I really like that. I'd see the uncles would come over. My father's brothers, my dead father's brothers would come over. And they'd come over with the cousins and the aunts and stand around the piano with their arms around their shoulders and sing. And I thought, music transforms people. So in my little mind, which is still little, music transforms people. So does booze. It transforms people. Now, the word transmute is used in our literature. It seems to indicate a little bit of a slower problem, that as we stick around and we stay sober through life events, we transmute. Some of the things that we brought to the program become better, or they become healed. They go away. They're replaced. Whatever happens, happens. But I knew nothing about this. I saw my first therapist when I was 15. I was 15 years old, and I saw a therapist. Meant nothing to me, zero. She was a little gray-haired lady who sat across the room from me and didn't know shit. Language, but she didn't know anything, and I didn't know anything. So we just sat there, and we tried to discuss my school issues. Now, I had been a good student in Catholic school, but once I switched to public school, I said, the heck with school. The heck with trying. The heck with it. I remember nothing about high school. Absolutely nothing. In fact, I went to my 50th anniversary, and a sponsee went with me. Can you believe it? She said, can I go with you? I said, oh, okay. Because I don't know why she wanted to go, but she had a good time. She didn't know anybody, and neither did I. And it was my reunion, but I didn't know anybody. I knew one person. But they knew me, and they knew about Sweetwater, and that was all my alcoholism needed, was the fuss and the attention and the Sweetwater. See, the fuss and the attention is what I like. Now, you may not have that story. You have your own story. Whatever it is, it's your cling to the thought that in God's hands, your greatest possession is your past. That idea has really struck a chord with me. My greatest possession is my past. And it's the feelings that count. It's the feelings that count. And so I'm begging you, especially if you're in your first year, that you're listening to the feelings and not the details, because the details aren't as important as the feelings. So when I had a drink, I connected to everything. My care center shut down. Oh, I was worried about the world. I was worried more about me, but I was worried about the world too. But, you know, but when I drink, my care center shuts down. And I don't care. I just don't care. So what? Big deal. What's the use? I'll show you. What's the use? I'll show you. And that was how I lived. And the only thing that I did in those years, we found these musicians in Jay Walker and the Pedestrians. We decided to call ourselves Sweetwater. Why? We just decided it. We had gone to the Monterey Pop Festival to see the show. The Monterey Pop Festival happened up in Monterey in about 67, I think. Middle 67 or something like that. Anyway, we had gone up there to see the show, and we slept in the cars because we couldn't get a hotel, so we slept in the cars overnight. And in the morning, the flute player, who was a tall black man in a big hat, if you remember, he and I went down to the brook to freshen up. And he started splashing this water on his face, and I said, don't do that. Ever the control freak, which I love to be in control. This is another aspect of alcoholism. Let me control you. Let me control. Yeah, that's the guy. That guy. He said, oh, chicken. He used to call me chicken. Can you believe it? He said, oh, chicken. He said, this is Sweetwater. And like light bulbs from on the comic show, light bulb over the head, because we had been trying to pick a name. We ran up the bank, ran to the other guys that were there, and we said, we just found a name for us. It's Sweetwater. We're going to call ourselves Sweetwater. And it turns out that's a very popular name, but I'm jumping ahead again. At the time, we thought we were really smart to come up with that. So we were very lucky in that we ran into a guy who wanted to manage us. Now, the guy didn't know anything about music, but he was a great friend of many people, Bill Graham, and he loved this guy. And Bill Graham was the one who ran the Fillmore West and the Fillmore East, and he managed a lot of very famous people. And he really liked our manager, and our manager liked him. Our manager knew everybody at Woodstock, Michael Lang, Artie Kornfeld, everybody. And our manager got us on all these big bills. We never had a hit record, but we always played these big bills. We played with all the heroes of 60s music. And what was going on in music at the time was there were festivals all over the country. And there were $3 for a weekend, $4 for a weekend, $5 for the whole weekend. And it was all the artists of the time. Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Janis Joplin, and Big Brother and the Holding Company, Grace Slick and the Jefferson Airplane, and so on. So we shared the bill with all these people. We even shared a bill with the Rolling Stones in Florida. We used to love Florida, actually. I know there's somebody here from Florida, but we used to go there a lot, and we really loved it. So Sweetwater got on all these bills, and we were really a good act. We were a lot of fun to watch. We never had a hit record, but there were people who liked our songs and memorized our songs and could sing along. How weird, huh? And we got on all these bills. And anyway, we flew around the country. We played all these shows, and we were very popular by virtue of that. Now, I knew that Sweetwater was known. I knew that nobody knew what happened to us. 4 months after we opened Woodstock, I, Nancy Nevins, was hit by a drunk driver. I'm laughing because now it's funny, but at the time it was terrible. He really hit me. I had just gotten on the freeway, and I had a friend with me that she played really good blues guitar. And she and I were on our way to the Sweetwater keyboard player's house in Silver Lake to sit with his parents and watch a Sweetwater performance on the Steve Allen show that was airing at the same time. So I had just gotten on the freeway, and it was raining lightly in Southern California. In Southern California, rain makes the news. That's how big rain is out here. So people can't drive that well. So I had just gotten on the freeway. It had been raining all day lightly. So the streets were just slick. They weren't really washed off. They were just slick. So I got on the freeway, and there was no lane to go through because there was fender benders all across the freeway. Everybody was getting smacked from this weather. So I got on the freeway. I turned to my friend. The last thing I ever said was, "Phew, we made it," as I stopped my car. After I stopped my car behind all these fender benders, I got hit by a drunk. He didn't even see me. It was before Mothers Against Drunk Driving ever formed. So it was no big deal. In legal terms, it was no big deal. Okay? But this drunk, and he was drunk because by the time they put him on a breathalyzer, he was right under 0.9. So he was right under legally drunk. A couple hours after he hit me, I went straight up, and I hit my bare head on the roof, and I made a crater with my head into the roof. Nothing happened to my friend. She just got out of the car, and she started wandering around looking for help for me. And I keeled over it was a bench front seat. I was driving a 61 Buick, and it was a bench front seat, and I just keeled over on it. And she was looking for help from me. There just happened to be one off-duty nurse who found my friend. There was one ambulance on the scene. There was one police officer on the scene of all these fender benders, and they gathered around me. And this off-duty nurse, could see how much trouble I was actually in because I wasn't bleeding from anywhere. Maybe my head, I don't know. But she said, "This girl's got to go." And they put me into the ambulance. And as soon as they shut the door, I'm just reporting. I don't have a memory of this. I went into grand mal seizures. Grand mal seizures are the big ones. And they took me down to the hospital on the one night of the month when all the neurologists from Southern California are having their meeting. And they all worked on me. And they all said, "This girl will not live. No one can survive a blow like that." And the whole Irish family came and descended on the hospital. My mother and sisters and aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody came. Even the priest showed up and gave me the last rites. Well, long story short, I lived. Now, it's a higher power that brought me back. I know that today. I didn't understand that yet completely, but I lived. And I came out of the coma, and the first thing I said was not, "Oh, thank God," or "Where's Mom?" I had a broken voice. My voice is broken forever. I'll never sing again the way I did. But I came out of the coma, and I said, "Do the papers?" No, because I was rock and roll. And when you're rock and roll, what's a little brain damage? So I had trouble with seizures. My first 6 years of sobriety, I had trouble with seizures. And I had to take brain medicine for them. And the brain medicine had a chance to work. Every time I took a drink on top of the brain medicine, I canceled it out. So when I came to you, I was having petit mal seizures almost on a daily basis when I got sober. I had had them for 6 years before, and I drank on top of every single one. And then when I came to you, I had them all the time. And you said, "That's okay, have a seat." You welcomed me. And, I had them for 6 years. And so I was 74 when I got here. And I was 26 years old. And I had called AA that morning because my hand was flopping around like a fish, and I thought it was my head injury. But the guy who answered the phone the day I called and went to my first meeting was a funny guy. And laughter is the best medicine we have. And he was a funny guy. And he told me stories about himself. He talked about himself and he talked about me. He asked me about me. And our book says, in working with others, find out all you can about the person you're working with. Your story doesn't matter as much as that person's story. And then you have something to do. So this guy that brought me in, he said, I'll meet you at the meeting. Now, you're not supposed to do this, but that's what he said. He said he'd meet me at the meeting. And I thought, oh, dang, I don't want to go to a meeting. But I thought, I'll help him if I go. He'll show his bosses he's doing a good job. So anyway, I went for his sake. Do you understand? When we do things for someone else, we get better. Because I went for his sake. Oh, and I hated the meeting. It was June 27th. It was a Sunday. And I just hated it. I hated all the happiness. I thought, what are these people happy for? What are they happy for? Good God, don't they read the paper? What's the matter with them? Why are they so happy? They must be a little like in the head. Because and the jokes were so corny. You know, I went on my last drunk Sunday, June 27th. I went to one of these, I was running around with a couple gay guys because they were convenient. And they didn't want to have sex with me. And they cleaned my house. So it was nice. So I ran around with them. So I went to one of their houses and I got drunk again. And I told him about AA. And he said, oh my God, it sounds terrible. He agreed with me. And he let me keep drinking. And I kept drinking. And he's sitting across the room from me, sniffing and snorting and beeping and honking, doing all the drugs he could do in front of me. And I'm drinking and talking about how awful AA is. And I left the bottle. I left the bottle 2/3 full. I had never left a bottle. I was already starting to change, and I didn't realize it. I thought, well, it must be because he said he took a break from all his sniffing and snorting and beeping and honking. And he looked at me and he said, you've really got a drinking problem. You know, the blind talking to the blind, right? You've really got a drinking problem, he said. And after he said that, I stopped drinking and I left that bottle. And I wandered back into the night and I came back to AA the next day. But I don't remember what I did that night, but I came back to AA the next day. Do you know that I know how precious that is? How different that story is from what I hear now. That it's hard to come back. It's hard to go to AA and leave and come back. I used to go to meetings with my sister, one of my sisters had 5 years in AA. She went back to drinking over 20 years ago. And I've been to meetings with her. I know what it's like. And she talks to me and she never talks about AA, but she loves what she discovered in AA. And she never knocks AA in front of me. But she drinks again. She left AA. So that's what I'm sharing with you. I know how precious this gift of recovery is. And for me, it's very precious. For me, it's the most precious thing I have. And I am powerless over alcohol. When I drink, it's I'll show you or what's the use. That's why I drink. What's the use? And I'll show you. That's why I drink. Okay. My life is still unmanageable, but there is a power greater than me waiting to manage my life. If I just let him, all I have to do is I have to surrender. Oh, miss, what's the use? And I'll show you. I have to surrender that to this power greater than myself that is waiting to transform me and manage my affairs and guide me. And that's what I do every single morning. I have a spiritual plan that I follow, and that's part of it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can call it, maybe it is the 11th step. The 11th, 10, 11, and 12, they call them maintenance steps, but they're more than maintenance steps. That's where the learning happens. That's where you learn. But I do 1, 2, 3 every morning. I get up extra early. I still work. I'm 74 and I'm still working. I teach one class in the mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I have to get up really early to do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The reason I have to get up early is because it takes me a while to get ready. It takes me a while to get out the door. I have to get my animals set, and then I have to spend an hour with God. That's how important it is to me, to spend an hour with God. I read our literature. I read and I write. I write a gratitude list. I write a letter to God, a surrender letter. I write a tune-up list, and I write about any good I may have seen. And then I try to follow the grapevine. I love the grapevine. I read the grapevine every day. So this is what I do to stay sober. I spend an hour with God every morning, no matter what. If I don't do that, it backs up on me. Everything backs up. And, oh, what's the use? And I'll show you, come back. So that's why I go to these meetings. That's what I'm doing here today. That's why I'm telling you my story. So I got into this program at the age of 26, and I got in because this man was so nice to me. This guy on the phone from central office. Do you know he had 6 months? He was not a giant of recovery. He had 6 months. You don't need time to give away friendship, to be friendly, to be funny, to tell stories, to listen. You don't need time to listen. You just need the willingness to help somebody in. I will never forget the first person who welcomed me to AA. Welcome, he said. I will never forget the way he said it. He really meant it. He really meant it. Welcome to AA. What a beautiful thing that is when you've been thrown out of so many places to be welcome. Welcome to AA. And he really meant it. Anyway, I came in and I really looked down my nose at everybody. Because, and that's what we do. We look down our noses. And I looked down my nose at everybody because they were corny. The jokes were stupid. And then one day I was laughing at those jokes. And then one day I was making them. Stupid jokes. We laugh at our poor dead grandmothers and everybody who burned in the fire, and we laugh and we laugh and we think it's so funny. And we went to jail 7 times and we laugh and we laugh. It's so funny. Why shouldn't we laugh? Why shouldn't we laugh? So the laughter helps a lot, and it helped me. Even though I was looking down my nose at everybody, and I was looking at those steps, and I was thinking, those steps, I'm Catholic. I know all about it. I'm Catholic. I know all about it. I'll show you, and what's the use? What's the use, and I'll show you. We're always in the back of my head. But I knew I couldn't drink anymore. I knew there was no more fun in the bottle for me. And you told me there was no more fun. You told me that alcoholism is an illness, a real bona fide illness. The book does not say disease. It says it's an illness. And it centers in the mind. So I looked down my nose at everybody, and I didn't worry about my mind. I worried about my status. Now, I'm a single alcoholic. I've been single for a long time. But I got married then. I got married because I fell in love on the way to the coffee pot. It happens quick when it happens. He had blue eyes, too, and he was my age. So, wow, wonderful. So we got married for a little while. And, we weren't getting along. We moved to Laguna Beach, and I lived in Laguna Beach for a long time, sober. It was wonderful. But we got married. We were sober, and a young AA couple. Oh, nice. And one day we weren't getting along, so we got married. We woke up and we said, we're not getting along. Let's get married. So we go, you don't call your sponsor. We looked in a penny saver, and we called Reverend Wright because he had a little ad. He said, married today, call Reverend Wright now. His little ad. So he had mustard on his tie, and that didn't fix it. You see, I was an alcoholic. I was used to things fixing me from the outside. Life is not like that. Things don't fix you from the outside. You fix yourself from the inside by surrendering and giving up and letting God in. And those were, I expected this marriage, Mrs. Somebody, would make me different. Mrs. didn't make me different. So we ended up divorced, and I'd had relationships, and people had lived with me and all this stuff. But I'm single, and I'm a happy person. You can be single in AA and be happy. You really can. You can be single in AA and not be lonely. You really can. Loneliness is an attitude. I've been lonely when I was married. I've been lonely at parties for me. I've been lonely at my own this, that. It's an attitude. I'll show you what's the use. It's an attitude. So I've been all these things. Now I have a career in AA of being a professor of English. I teach English. I've been doing this for 35 years. And it's because of AA. I went back to AA. I went back to school because I was sober in AA. And that's why we do it. And the financial aid helps, go back. But I found I really liked learning, and I really liked helping these people. And I really liked practicing the principles in all my affairs, in school, in work. So now I'm 74. I'm looking at retirement. And that's a new phase of life for me. But I'm down to one class now, so, it's going to happen pretty easily, probably pretty quickly. But that's all God's work. It's not my work. It's just I paid attention. I spent that hour with God every day, no matter what, even when I don't get answers. And a lot of times I don't. But I get guided through life. I get guided to help these animals that I live with. I get guided to help the women that I get the privilege of serving in sponsorship. I get guided through choices that I make today. I have a little house. I bought a little house in 95. I bought a little house here in Tujunga, and I've been taking care of this little house, and God helps me take care of this little house. God helps me with everything, and He will help you too. He is just waiting for you to ask. God is very polite. And He doesn't want to interfere with what's the use, and I'll show you if you've got that going for you, like I did. I used to look down my nose at you guys, and I thought, oh, my God. And then one day I was laughing with you, and one day I was writing my inventory, and one day I was looking as hard as I could at myself so that I could get over it. And I was hoping to get over it. But you know what? Today I don't feel that way about alcoholism. I feel like alcoholism is a gift today. Saying I'm an alcoholic is the best thing I can say about myself. My name is Nancy. I'm an alcoholic. And then I can add all the other stuff if I want to. But the best thing and the most important thing I can ever say about myself is I'm an alcoholic. I really am. From the top of my head to my toes, I'm an alcoholic. I'm all the way. Ain't never going. You're stuck with me. Okay? So what's the use? And I'll show you. I have long gone, but they're always waiting. This disease will wait patiently for me. As long as I keep doing the simple things, it won't come in. But if I stop doing the simple things, that will all come back. And I can have it all back. So thank you for your time and your eyes. I sure appreciate it. I'm going to go now. Bye.